Last year, started seeing a large uptick in Indiana drivers losing their driver's licenses for failure to provide proof of insurance to the Indiana Department of Motor Vehicles, or Bureau of Motor Vehicles, whatever you want to call it. And the biggest reason for this is every time there is an accident or a citation that generates a police report, you must provide current proof of insurance to the Indiana Department of Motor Vehicles. Now, I don't know if a warning, like if an officer lets you off with a warning, I haven't heard that this is going to require you to provide proof of insurance to the state, but tickets and accidents for sure. But if you get into an accident, your insurance company is going to be involved in that. It's not to say that you can't lose your license for not proving you have current insurance, because I've seen it happen. The biggest thing that gets people is the tickets. And that's why I tell all my clients, if they get pulled over, and for any reason, if they get a ticket, they need to let me know. I give it a few days for the ticket to register in the system, because then I know that once that's happened, the need to provide proof of insurance is going to be there. Because earlier on in this thing, I have a login with the BMV. So I can submit SR22s, SR50s, and letters of compliance for my clients. It's just one of many ways that I try to make insurance easier, more hassle-free, and just, more streamlined. It's a way to try to beat the punch and, keep a high level of service at this agency. But so I'll send these things off for them. And I'll try to send an email off to the Department of Insurance downtown Indianapolis, which is usually about like 5 or 6 people. And that's who processes all these things. So I'll get that sent off. And but like I was saying earlier on, I would send those as soon as my clients would get the ticket. And then the BMV would be like, okay. And still, it wouldn't matter. You have to wait until everything is in the system, because then the system is going to require that verification to be put in. So that's what I do. But for any of you who don't have an agent who does this, once the ticket clears the system, you need to be prepared to call your insurance company and ask them to submit current proof of insurance. Probably, most likely, a letter of experience. They could send something else as well. And you need to be prepared to prove to the Indiana BMV that you have current insurance in good standing. Because if not, they will gank your license, and they won't hesitate to do so. And it's happening to a lot of people. What I think is so weird, though, if I might add, is I was following some legislation that was being heard in the state legislature about the BMV having to send these notices directly to the insurance company instead of to the consumer, which would make more sense. Because at this point in time, say you get a citation and the BMV sends you a letter, whether you actually receive it or not, well, that's another story in and of itself. But let's say you receive it. You can't just send a picture. You can't upload a fax. You can't send this to the BMV on your own accord. So you have to call, most likely you're going to be calling your insurance company, especially if you don't have an agent. If you're direct through a call center, you're going to have to call the insurance company anyways. So it's just really adding an extra step to add confusion. And opinions will vary on whether people think that that's intentional or not. I most certainly have my own opinions on it, but we can get into that in a different video. Anytime a report is generated, you need to be prepared to prove that you have insurance or you will lose your license. Now, some things I don't have clean, clear, and precise information on is if you log into your My BMV account and your insurance company is right and your current policy number is right, I don't know if that changed anything. I need to reach out to people from the BMV and cross my fingers and hope that I get good information, because it's unfortunate, depending on who you talk to, you can get different answers. So it can be kind of hard to get a clear and concise answer. But I do not know that if you keep that up to date, I don't know if that changes anything, but I would highly suggest doing so. Because if you go into your mybmv.gov or .in.gov or mybmv.com, you can update your insurance in there. And you'll see, unless you absolutely have to show proof of insurance at the BMV, that stuff doesn't get updated. So if you switched insurance companies however many months or years ago, you definitely could have outdated insurance information in there, which might cause some problems. There's a couple different places. I mean, right there on the home page, you can see, and I can do a video tutorial on this. It's self-explanatory, but I can do a video showing you. You can find the place to update your insurance information on the home page and on the plates and registration tab. I would suggest keeping it up to date, keeping your address and everything right, because if that stuff's not up to date and they sent you a letter, whether they did or they didn't, it's going to fall back on you because your information is not up to date. And that is one of the biggest things that hems up drivers, is they didn't have information that was up to date. And so the BMV, in good faith, tried to make contact, but couldn't do so. And not getting the letter, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just saying, from what I've seen in 10 years of owning an insurance agency, I didn't get the letter is not a good excuse. It does not work in court. I've never known it to work. I'm not going to say it absolutely won't work, but I've not seen it to work. I don't feel like the courts have much compassion, especially if they come to find out that your information is not up to date. But that's just based on what I've seen. But I don't know. You could possibly keep that up to date, and it may not change any of this whatsoever. You may still have to prove that you have current insurance in good standing. And I know some people are going to watch this and be like, well, yeah, you're supposed to carry insurance. Well, this is true. But, it didn't used to be enforced the way it is now. And I feel like the way it is, the way that it's set up, it's meant to trip up motorists. It's meant to get people getting their license suspended. Now you're getting popped. And again, not a lawyer, but I have seen a lot of things throughout my years. And just because you didn't know your license was suspended doesn't mean that there can't be strict civil penalties for getting caught. Doesn't mean you're not going to have to, I can't guarantee you'll have to pay fees, but I can't guarantee that you won't pay fees either. That's a great way to rack up money. It's a great way to get people in a lot of mess real quick. That's why I honestly need to go back and do another video of that legislation that didn't pass because the BMV claimed it would cost the Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles too much money. And yeah, the rhetoric on that one don't quite add up. But, these systems are quite often, I think, set up in a way that's not favorable for motorists. And this is a really bad problem because as the legislation that was up for discussion last year in 2024 in the legislative session, there was a notice, I think it was a congressman and a very reputable lawyer who ended up losing their license in the state of Indiana over all this mess. And so they were behind this, trying to get this fixed. So this is an issue that's not just affecting the great unwashed, the great have-nots. This is affecting people from the bottom to the top. And though I feel like it's designed to really go after the middle class and lower, that's the people, that's the socioeconomic bracket that a lot of this stuff is really that's the people it's going to hurt the most, typically. It's happening to everybody, though. It is a mess, and I feel like it's set up this way. And so the best thing you can do is protect yourself on every front. First off, I always encourage my clients, please have a mybmv.gov or .com account. Log into that, check that thing. Keep your insurance information up to date. Keep your address up to date. And if you have an agent like myself that has a direct login with the BMV, let them know when you got a citation. If you don't have an agent that has this capability, you're going to need to call your insurance company. You don't want to put this on the back burner, because you do have time to prove you have insurance. But you know how life works. One thing happens, another thing happens, and now your license is suspended because all the time's gone. I would not hesitate on this. As soon as that ticket is through the system, have your insurance company send that stuff off to the state of Indiana. And that way, this nightmare don't come back to bite you in the tail end 30, 60, 90 days down the road. Because I assure you, it can, and it most likely will come back to haunt you if you don't take care of this. It's not just going to go away. They're not reaching out to your insurance company, and your insurance company is not just inherently sending this stuff off. So you need to call them.